What's up everybody, Mike Lazarecki here. Today we're going to be talking a little bit more about the Canon R6 Mark II and specifically its low light capabilities. So I've been doing a bunch of testing with the Canon R6 Mark II for the past week or so, and I thought I would test out its low light capabilities against the Sony A7S III, the king of low light hybrid cameras. And the results are interesting to say the least. As we're rolling through these tests, please do me a favor and stick around to the end of the video. I'll tell you what my opinions are on it, and there's some kind of interesting insights I think in there for anybody who's considering this camera, especially if you're considering this camera in comparison with a Sony A7S III. Yeah, those opinions are at the end of the video. So in order to test out the low light capabilities of both of these cameras in a side-by-side scenario, I pretty much lit a couple of candles in the middle of my dining room table. The only light that was on the other side of the room, and it was the very dim LED light over the top of my cooking range. So pretty much the entire light source in these shots is just that set of candles on the table. So I started out with a little more zoomed out view, and we started out at ISO 800. Both cameras were set to log profiles, so the Canon R6 Mark II was set to C-Log 3 in the cinema gamut, and the A7S III was set to S-Log 3 in S gamut, or whatever it's called in Sony terms. So here I'm starting out with the two shots at 800 ISO. Next shot is at 1600 ISO. We now move into 3200 ISO. At 6400 ISO. Here's the punched in shot on that. Now we're getting into the higher ISOs. There's 12,800. And then we'll punch in. And then finally at 25,600 ISO. And we'll punch in. Here's the second part of the test. This time we're punched in a little further and I'm shooting at a target card. Same scenario, we're running through the same ISO ranges here, and I'll punch in for each one so that you can kind of see what the noise patterns look like. In my mind, I feel like the Canon R6 Mark II does perform very well in low light. However, there are a couple of little caveats that I want to mention. And one of those is that the Sony A7S III can go much higher in the ISO range in video mode than the Canon R6 Mark II can. The R6 Mark II caps out at 25,600, whereas the Sony A7S III can be blasted all the way up to like 102,000 or something crazy like that, which is totally impractical, but it can do it. I think both cameras are totally usable up to that 12,800 range, and I think the Sony's probably usable higher than that as well. I do think that the R6 Mark II can be considered a camera that's really good in low light. Oh wait, and there's one more thing that I think is really important to know if you are a person who's going to be shooting video in low light conditions and again, this one's gonna kind of give the win mark into the Sony category here, and that is basically that with Sony, you have the ability to choose a color profile or create a color profile in camera and still be shooting in 10-bit. With the Canon, the only way to shoot in 10-bit and take advantage of that additional color data is to shoot in C-Log3. So there's no real flexibility there from the standpoint of being able to create a dedicated low light profile and still get 10-bit color recorded. So that's a downfall for the Canon cameras, and it's like that across the board. Everything from the R6 Mark I all the way up to the R3, they all have that kind of Achilles heel, I would say, where you cannot customize in 10-bit at all. You're only shooting in log with the Canon cameras if you want 10-bit color. The nice thing about being able to customize that on the Sony camera is that at that point you can actually create a color profile that is optimized for low light performance, which means that the already killer good low light performance of the A7S III can even be better than what I'm showing you here. So it's very important to keep those things in mind. I would say if you're a wedding shooter and you typically have a style that is very dark, I would actually suggest you go the Sony A7S III route. If you're a general shooter who's shooting photo and video and you want really good low light performance, on a more practical scale, the R6 Mark II is an excellent camera. It's certainly a good choice. It can see in the dark just like the other cameras can, but it's just not quite good enough to take the low light king crown from the Sony A7S III. Sorry, Canon, we're not there yet. Side note, Canon, if you do make it so that we can actually create custom profiles to shoot video in 10-bit, that would be spectacular. Please do that. Seriously, please do that. I hope you got something valuable out of this video. Do me a favor and hit that thumbs up button, consider subscribing, and check out this video for more helpful tips. And I'll see you guys in the next one. Talk to you later.